Welcome, City Council and members of the Springfield Budget Committee. My name is Matt Stouter, and I serve as the Environmental Services Director for the City of Springfield. I also serve as the Metropolitan Wastewater Management Commission's Executive Officer. It's my pleasure to be here to present the Environmental Services Division budget to you. I'd like to acknowledge a few staff as I get going, specifically Catherine Bishop and Lou Alaco for their work in helping to put together the Environmental Services Division budget. And then also I'd note that in addition to me, you'll be hearing from Megan Murphy, who's one of our Environmental Services program supervisors in our Stormwater Water Resources group. So during this presentation, I'll be discussing with you the kind of the high-level bullet points on the slide shown here. And there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions about anything presented in this PowerPoint or in Environmental Services budget after this presentation has been recorded and during the Budget Committee process. The slide shows the Environmental Services Division budget overview by program in the top table. You'll note that of the 4 programs here, by far the largest dollar amount is the Regional Wastewater Administration Program, which is the Springfield component of the MWMC budget. The Eugene budget and the capital budget is also contained in our overall budget. However, it's not shown here because it's not part of the environmental services budget. The table at the bottom shows a further breakdown of our budget. You'll see that personnel services have increased slightly. That includes PERS obligations and regular wages as determined through collective bargaining agreements. Our M&S has actually went down from the 24 amended budget. Utility billing services, which are the fees that we are charged by Springfield Utility Board for meter reads and whatnot, has went up slightly. And then the our right-of-way fees, which are the fees we charge ourselves as a city for the privilege of putting stormwater and wastewater into our streets, have went up slightly. And then our internal and indirect charges actually went down slightly this year.
Hi, I'm Megan Murphy, Environmental Services Supervisor. The Environmental Services Division oversees the city's Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, or MS4 permit. This permit is a key component of the Clean Water Act and helps keep the McKenzie and Willamette rivers fishable and swimmable. The City of Springfield has a Phase 2 or small MS4 permit. The city also has a special plan to reduce temperature, bacteria, and mercury in local waterways and the McKenzie and Willamette rivers. This plan is also required by the Clean Water Act and is called a Total Maximum Daily Load, or TMDL, implementation plan. Both the city's MS4 permit and TMDL are administered by the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality, or DEQ, under guidance from the Federal Environmental Protection Agency. The MS4 permit and TMDL implementation plan contain a wide variety of pollution prevention measures that cross all aspects of city services, including street sweeping and catch basin maintenance, requirements for the retention and treatment of runoff from impervious surfaces, installation and maintenance of stormwater treatment facilities, public education and outreach, and more. The city's MS4 permit expired on February 28, 2024, and all required tasks were complete by this date. This is a huge accomplishment for the Community Development and Operations divisions, as well as Environmental Services. Some highlights from fiscal year 2024 include updating the city's construction site runoff municipal code, updating development code to meet MS4 permit requirements for stormwater retention and treatment, mapping and inspecting the many new stormwater treatment facilities in Springfield, and the maintenance of public facilities by operations staff. In addition, the Environmental Services Division applied for MS4 permit renewal. The city's 2019 TMDL implementation plan expires June 30th, 2024. Environmental Services submitted a 5-year review of this plan in March of 2024. Based on this review, environmental services, community development, and operations worked together to develop a new plan for the next 5 years to reduce bacteria, temperature, and mercury in our waterways. This updated plan was submitted to DEQ in March of 2024, and approval is expected by the end of June. The city's MS4 permit is currently under administrative extension. All current measures required by this permit are still in effect, including mapping and maintenance of the public stormwater system, construction site erosion prevention requirements, implementation of stormwater municipal and development codes, and more. Springfield, along with other Phase 2 permittees, are discussing the next MS4 permit issuance with DEQ. Issuance is expected in fiscal year 25. Control measures to prevent stormwater pollution in the current permit are expected to continue, and some new requirements will likely be added. Starting July 1st, 2024, the city's new TMDL implementation plan will begin. Strategies in this plan include inventorying and maintaining public trees, planning stream restoration projects, updating natural resource mapping, maintaining code protections for trees, riparian areas, and wetlands, and maintaining city-managed waterways, including planting and litter removal. Future years will be shaped by the requirements within the city's MS4 permit. Increases in costs and staff time are expected, especially as the city's stormwater infrastructure grows with our urban area. Currently, Oregon DEQ is under a court order from EPA to update and replace the Willamette River Subbasin's temperature TMDLs, including those for the Upper Willamette Basin and McKenzie River. This will impact Springfield upon DEQ and EPA approval. Because a lack of streamside vegetation is the primary source of increased stream temperatures, additional requirements proposed in the replacement TMDLs include tree and shrub planting in riparian areas for shade and channel restoration projects. In addition, data has been submitted to Oregon DEQ for the listing of aquatic trash as a water quality impairment. This could result in a future trash TMDL for the main stem Willamette River, which would impact Springfield from the confluence of the coast and Middle Forks to I-5.
Okay, we're going to pivot from the Springfield local environmental services component of the budget and begin talking about the MWMC's regional wastewater program. And I'll be presenting this budget to you as the executive officer of MWMC, and I'll be turning my camera off for the duration of the presentation. So the MWMC is a partnership between the cities of Eugene, Springfield, and Lane County. We have a service area that comprises the urban growth boundaries of both the cities of Eugene and Springfield, and we serve about 250,000 community members. We have a 7-member commission shown here that helps guide us and provides policy direction for us. They are made up of 3 elected officials from the partnering agencies of Eugene, Springfield, and Lane County, as well as 4 appointed citizen representatives. City Councilor Joe Pictionary is our current vice president and serves on our board, and Commissioner Doug Keeler is our Springfield citizen representative. In the partnership, Springfield is responsible for the administrative functions of the MWMC, which includes our annual budget preparation, our permit and regulatory implementation and compliance, development and delivery of our regional capital improvement program and construction projects, our public education and outreach functions, as well as our executive officer and general manager functions. Eugene is responsible for the operations and maintenance of all of our regional facilities and assets. We provide service to both domestic and industrial users, and we also provide service to mobile waste haulers and septic haulers from both inside and outside our urban growth boundary. Finally, in addition to Springfield staff working on behalf of the MWMC, Eugene has approximately 80 FTE that work at our regional facilities. So the MWMC is responsible for approximately $450 million in assets, and by far the largest asset that we have is our regional treatment facility, which is located at 410 River Avenue in Eugene. This facility operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and treats all the wastewater flows coming into the collection systems of Eugene and Springfield. Our average summer flows are anywhere between 25 million and 30 million gallons per day, and we have the capability to treat much more than that, up to 277 million gallons per day during wet weather flow events in the winter. We also own and operate over 600 acres on Aubrey Lane at our biosolids management facility and Biocycle Farm. Here, biosolids are collected in large lagoons. They are pumped 6 miles from our regional wastewater treatment facility, and we harvest those solids on a yearly basis and use them as fertilizer in cooperative agreements with grass farmers around the region. We also apply some of these solids to our poplar trees on site. We have about 400 acres planted in poplar on 3 management units, which is about 88,000 trees. And those trees are harvested on 12-year rotations, the end products of which are used locally for things like wood chips, plywood veneer, or ceiling grills. Some of the wood in the city council chambers is actually the poplar from our farm. The MWMC's budget must be ratified by all 3 governing bodies prior to the Commission adopting the final budget in June. The schedule for budget ratification is shown here. This slide depicts a rolled-up summary of the expenditures for our regional operating budget. You'll note that personnel costs are up by 1.2%. That's fairly modest. That's due in part to the fact that Eugene budgets on a 2-year budget cycle, and we are in year 2, so those costs have been held flat over this year. There's a proposal to add a 2.98 FTE change. 2.18 of those FTEs are on the Eugene side to meet ongoing permit requirements associated with our new permit, continued operation and maintenance associated with aging infrastructure, etc. 0.8 of the FTE add is on the Springfield side is for a deputy director to provide assistance with the overall administration of the regional program. These costs, the personnel costs also consider MWMC's obligations for PERS and healthcare. The materials and service costs are up 5.4%. Those costs are associated with increased chemical costs at our facilities, increased utility costs also at our utilities, and then ongoing inflation. Finally, I'd note that capital outlay is proposed to increase 190%. That is those are one-time expenses that tend to fluctuate year over year, controlled by the city of Eugene. This year, they're proposing to add some comprehensive security upgrades to the plant. My best guess is that next year this line item will be substantially smaller and there'll be a corresponding decrease. It's a fairly small portion of our overall budget, but it does fluctuate year over year, so you tend to see sometimes big increases or big decreases. Finally, I would note that the overall proposed budget, regional operating budget, has a 5.9% increase from last year's budget. Each year, our commission evaluates our regional wastewater rates, our user rates, and we have a philosophy of trying to do small incremental rate increases over time. This year, we are looking at a proposed adjustment of 5.5%. We have a number of things coming down the line at us, and inflation is finally catching up to us. I would note that we have, over the past 10 years, moved forward approximately a 2.5% rate adjustment annually, which is well behind inflation, which has been about 4.5% over that same time period. And we are working with a consultant looking at our rate model. And after this year's adjustment at 5.5, we should be back to 3.5 to 4 in the next 2 to 3 out years. This graph is shown assuming the average user uses 5,000 gallons of wastewater treated. That's to help us compare with other communities. The average residential user in Springfield is currently around 4,300 gallons, so they're going to pay a little bit less than this on a monthly basis. Every year we do a rate comparison slide for our commission that helps us compare how we're doing with other communities, recognizing that not all the requirements we have are the same as other communities. We have probably more requirements than others. However, it is helpful to compare. This is looking back, or this is looking at the start of this calendar year, 2024, and it does assume 5,000 gallons per month used by the average user. I would note that the blue component represents the MWMC's regional rate, and then the green component for Eugene and Springfield are the local rates. The reason Springfield's local rate is higher than Eugene's has to do with the fact that Springfield has had past debt service obligations that Eugene didn't have to take on due to environmental regulations and mandates. We have a less of a population base here in Springfield to spread the cost of those services over, and so we had to take on additional debt where Eugene did not. Hence the reason for the difference in rates between the two communities. So looking back at a few accomplishments for fiscal year 24, we successfully delivered a multiple $1 million regional capital program that positions the MWMC to meet our regulatory requirements. We updated our local limits and our sewer use ordinances. Local limits, staff went out and performed a comprehensive sampling of our wastewater streams and updated those pollutant limits to ensure that treatment plant processes and worker health and safety are not compromised. We also, with the pretreatment ordinances, received City Council approval from Eugene and Springfield for updated sewer use ordinances that will be effective as soon as the Department of Environmental Quality approves those, which is expected shortly. And we received high-profile national awards for the second year in a row, both for Clean Water University, the first of which was given to us by the National Association of Clean Water Agencies and was a National Environmental Achievement Award. The second of which was the Watermark Award given to the top educational program in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho are given to us by the Pacific Northwest Clean Water Association. And you see Laura Lynn Spiro here holding a picture of the NACWA award that we received. A few initiatives worth highlighting for fiscal year 2025 include Clean Water University. We're looking to expand that to a third day. Right now we've offered that for 2 days for the past several years. We're able to accommodate 10 schools, 10 to 5th grade schools from throughout the service district. We'd like to accommodate 15. That's going to be a big lift, and we're looking forward to making that happen this year. Our comprehensive facility plan update is happening. That's evaluating the planning framework for MWMC for our treatment facility and the rest of our assets and infrastructure. That's a 20-year plan that will help us meet regulatory requirements and plan into the future. And then we are looking forward to continuing with permit compliance this year. We have a permit that was issued in 2022. It contains a number of permit requirements and milestones that need to be met each year. And we're working diligently to ensure that we continue to meet those requirements and advance that and move that forward. For the future 3-year considerations for fiscal year 26 to 28, we will be continuing to implement our 5-year CIP and working on maintaining our aging infrastructure. I'll touch on the CIP more in the upcoming slides. However, it's worth noting that much of our regional infrastructure is over 40 years old and is needing to be replaced or updated, and we are working diligently on that. Our facilities plan work that we're currently working on will result in the need for an updated SDC methodology, so that's something we'll be looking at in the coming years. And then we expect to, in fiscal year 27, receive a renewed NPDES wastewater permit that will probably contain additional requirements for dealing with pollutants such as temperature, forever chemicals, also known as PFAS, and other things. And so that will definitely have an impact on our budget, something that we'll be communicating about more in the future. I'd like to transition into discussing our capital plan. This slide shows the fiscal year 25 capital budget and 5-year CIP. The total 5-year CIP is $73 million. The majority of those dollars are for large capital projects at the plant. However, we do have significant investments in equipment replacement, which includes things like screw pumps at our pretreatment facility at the beginning of our plant, motor control centers at the screw pumps, and recoating of our clarifier rake arms. One of the projects we just wrapped up was the poplar harvest management services at our BioCycle farm. This took place on multiple management units over the past 10 years and included ideas for best management practices for poplar establishment, growth, and end uses, and then replanting and harvest of each of the various 3 management units. The carryover projects include our administrative building and operations improvement project, which will upgrade the existing building on site that houses our operations control center. And then the aeration basins project will help us upgrade our secondary treatment train process, which is over 40 years old, with newer technology, communication, and equipment. One additional carryover project is our electrical switchgear and transformer replacement project. This equipment provides the electrical power source to all of our operations at the plant, and it is original construction from 1983. It is well past its useful life and at risk of failure, and therefore we are moving to replace it. So that concludes our Environmental Services Division budget. I thank you for watching and look forward to any questions that you might have as part of the budget committee process.